right, I'm currently on the phone with John. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
All right, well, hello. My name is John Dowling. I am 24. I'm a singer, a multi-instrumentalist, a songwriter. I'm kind of dipping my toes into songwriting. I'm not really that proficient at it. At least I don't think I am. And I, yeah, I love country music. And I'm based out of the Twin Cities, Minnesota area.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's kind of talk about how this all started for you. Describe for me the environment that you're in when you first came in contact with music and realized that it was going to be a larger part of your life.
Yeah, well, so I've been surrounded by music pretty much my entire life. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that I am blind. I'm totally blind. I was born premature. I was born 23 weeks early. I weighed 1 pound 3 ounces, um, and as a result, I was of my being born premature. I had to be put in an incubator for about 110 days, and with that being so long, the exposure to the air destroyed my retinas, or destroyed the blood vessels in my retinas, so they weren't able to properly develop. So I do have some light perception in my left eye and no vision at all in my right eye. So audio has always been a big part of my life, and so I think the journey with music really started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Back when I was a kid in the early 2000s, there was a TV cartoon called The Backyardigans, and they had a theme song, and it's very recognizable. A lot of kids from my generation will really probably recognize the theme. And I remember one day I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I took my piano. I had a little toy keyboard, and I was able to pick out the notes of the theme song and just play them. No, I didn't play them in the same key because they were in the key of D, and I played them in the key of C. But it was still like even now, just think about it. I'm in awe because of the fact that I was able to not only know the notes but also transpose them even at that young age. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, so describe for me a little bit how that process worked for you. You mentioned that you had like a toy keyboard that you used to kind of learn the notes and everything. How
Yeah.
did you begin that process? Like, obviously, you said that audio was very important to you. I suppose what I'm looking for here is how did you kind of feel out the notes to kind of figure out what it was that you were doing?
I've never really thought about that. I don't even know. I think it was just something that just kind of clicked. I don't really know how it happened. Maybe I just listened to the different songs on the radio and on TV, and I was just able to. I just played notes, and if they sounded right, then I knew that I was kind of on the right track. So it's just kind of like a like a trial and error situation, I think.
Okay, sure. And then did you kind of stick with the keyboard because that was kind of the easiest methodology for you to kind of learn the notes and kind of pick up melody, or did you eventually kind of venture into other instruments?
I did venture into other instruments, although it was a significantly amount of years later. I stuck with the keyboard for the longest time. I eventually moved up from a toy keyboard to a full 88 key piano, courtesy of a friend. And in fact, I still have that piano in my. It's not in my possession right now, but and the last time I played it was about 2 or 3 years ago when I was back because I just recently moved here to Minnesota. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Um, and so that piano has been in my life for a significant amount of time. But my first string instrument besides the piano was the ukulele. I had a neighbor who lived next door to me. His name was Harold, but we called him Hal for short. And he was a musician. He taught me the piano, and he taught me how to play some stuff on the ukulele. And that was my next instrument that I picked up. And then I picked up the harmonica, And then when I was about 14, I picked up the mandolin. Um, and then about like 6 years later, I picked up the guitar, and I was kind of into the ukulele, but that really didn't start uh, seriously for me until like the height of the pandemic. Because I was bored, I didn't really have anything to do. I was sitting at home, so I had this ukulele that belonged to my father, and he gave it to me, and because he wasn't doing anything with it, so I decided to pick it up one day. I tuned it, uh, and I just started kind of playing around with it.
So explain for me a little bit about what kind of meaning that has to you, because I can understand in that situation your relationship with instruments and music is more of kind of a interaction with kind of the outside world sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I have a pretty deep relationship with music and instruments because um, music for me is a universal language. I think that it can cross barriers and cross oceans and cross worlds, and it can tell stories. Uh, Even if someone might not speak the language, as long as you can feel music and feel that emotion that's attached to it, then you will know what's going on. And that's the one thing I really love and respect about music, and I'm really honored that God put me on this earth to be a musician.
Okay, so the next step to that question is, what do you anticipate that you'll be able to do with music? Like, are you looking to record what you're working on, or is it more just interactive experience? Give me a little bit more detail about what you kind of expect to get out of your relationship with music.
Yeah, so I plan to do some more recording. I do have a recording studio. It's not really set up here yet. I'm going to be getting some more tools and stuff in the coming weeks for my old house in New Jersey, because that's where I was living before I moved up here to Minnesota. So I've got a MIDI keyboard and some guitars and that kind of thing. And I plan to do more recordings, so eventually maybe I can start doing more live gigging around the Twin Cities area, and showing people, my music, because I do a lot of covers right now. I play mostly classic country music, and I want to kind of keep playing that, but I want to make my own country music in a sense.
Okay, so you mentioned that you did have a recording studio set up in your home. Have you been able to put out material, and are you consistently like publishing material to the internet, or what do you think your kind of strategy is there?
Yeah, I was really active about 6 or 7 years ago. On YouTube. But since I had to leave my house about 2 years ago, it's been a very long process of getting all of my equipment shipped from there to here. So I really haven't had any time to uh, release any music onto the internet because I haven't had the exact same setup that I was used to. So I just decided to wait until I have all of my music gear. But once I have all that back, I will be starting to upload consistently again.
Sure, that's great. So you did mention that you are also looking forward to getting out and playing shows and stuff. Tell me a bit about how that works for you. Do you kind of just get pointed in the direction of the stage and then you pick up your instrument, or in your mind, how does that?
Yeah, well, so usually what happens is I'll go into the restaurant or the venue that I'm being asked to play at. Someone will, usually one of my bandmates, if I'm with a band, they will kind of guide me to the stage and be like, all right, hey, this is where you need to set up. And if I'm doing a solo act, then I'll just ask like the bar, like the head bar guy or whatever, and they'll just point me to the stage, and then I'll get my guitar set up, and yeah, it'll be good. So it just kind of depends on who's around.
All right. Well, what are some of your favorite memories that you have in the period of time that you've been working on music? I know you said that it's been a while and you're getting back into it, but where do you draw motivation from?
Um, I guess I draw motivation from all the artists that I listen to. Uh, I I think my favorite memory right now that's associated with music is about 2 years ago. Uh, After I left home from Jersey, I was kind of couch surfing, and I went to Kentucky for a little bit to stay with some friends. And while I was staying in Kentucky, I managed to book a plane trip to Montgomery, Alabama, on from September 16th to September 18th of 2023. And the reason that those dates are very um, important are because on September 17th, 1923, Hank Williams, who is a bona fide figure in the country music uh, songwriting and musicians um, committee, he was born. And so I got to actually go to his grave because he died pretty young. He died January 1st, 1953, at the age of 29 years old. And so even though his life was cut short, he left us a long legacy of recordings. And in 2023, I got to go to his grave on his 100th birthday and touch it, and it was really cool. And I got to sing with some people who were also there, who were kind of admiring his grave and celebrating his life. There was some guitar. There was a guitar player, a fiddle player, and a dobro player, and it was just so cool to get to sing with everyone.
All right. Well, where can people find the stuff that you have put out and that you're going to be putting out again?
Yeah, so I am on Apple Music and Spotify. If you look up John John Dowling Dowling Jr., and that's JR period. That's also where you can find me on YouTube too. I've got my own YouTube channel. Um, that's I am on Instagram. I don't really post on there much. I really need to get back on posting. That's John underscore Dowling underscore music. Um, I am on TikTok as well, and that's I believe it's just at John Dowling Jr.
All right, perfect. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you want to share with other people?
Well, if you want to get into music, I think you should just kind of jump in head first. I mean, you can take piano and voice lessons if you really want to maybe get your feet started on the ground. But I think you should just kind of just try things, and if they work, then they work, and if they don't, then just try something else. Like don't try to limit yourself to what people want you to be. Like try to be your own person.